This is Anything Goes, a podcast directly for you, by me, Astrid Skye. I want to tell you something personal today, because I think we sometimes make relationships much more difficult than they need to be by trying to fit every person and every feeling into a very specific box. Joachim and I were together for many years, and when I say that, I do not mean that it was some kind of mistake, or that we were only waiting for the right person to come along and save us from each other. We really loved each other, and we had a lot of good years together. We knew each other deeply, we shared a life, and there was always a strong attraction and a very natural intimacy between us. But as the years passed, we slowly started to understand that being close to someone and being able to build a good everyday relationship with them are not always the same thing. I think most of us grow up with the idea that one person is supposed to be everything. Your partner should be the person you desire, the person you tell everything to, the person you feel safe with, the person you build a home with, the person who understands you, challenges you, and somehow fulfills all the different needs you carry. It sounds romantic, and sometimes it probably works like that, but I also think it can place an enormous amount of pressure on two people. Joachim and I never lost the physical connection between us, but we began to lose something in the private part of our relationship. The part that happens when nobody is watching, when you are tired, when something is difficult, when you need to feel emotionally held and not only desired. We could still be close, but we were not always very good at giving each other the kind of calm, everyday security we both needed. For a long time, I thought that meant one of us had failed. Maybe I was not loving enough. Maybe he was not attentive enough. Or maybe we had simply ruined something that we should have been able to repair. Then, Maya became a bigger part of our lives. She knew Joachim through me, and while the three of us became closer, I began to notice something between them that was different from what he and I had. They had a kind of ease together. Maya could give him a calmness that I had struggled to give him, and he could give her a sense of closeness and stability that seemed completely natural between them. At first, that was not easy for me to see, because it is difficult to watch someone you love find something important with another person. Even when you understand it intellectually, there is still a part of you that wonders whether it means you are not enough. But I was not replaced by Maya, because she was never meant to be another version of me. She and Joachim found something together that belonged to them. They found the kind of private and emotional relationship that Joachim and I had been trying to create, even though it did not really fit the people we had become. And when I finally stopped looking at the situation as a competition, I realized that Joachim and I had not lost everything. What we had simply needed a different shape. We were no longer right as a traditional couple, but the trust, the friendship, and the attraction between us were still real. Ending the relationship did not erase our history, and it did not suddenly make our bodies forget each other. That may sound confusing because we are very used to putting people into simple categories. Someone is your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your friend, your lover, or your ex, and we expect them to remain inside that category. Once a relationship ends, we are often told that we should remove the person completely and behave as if the connection never existed. But people are rarely that simple. Joachim is my former boyfriend, but he is also one of my closest friends. There is still an intimacy between us, and sometimes we allow ourselves to explore that intimacy. Maya knows about it, and sometimes she is there behind the camera, watching us and becoming part of the moment in her own way. I know that some people will hear that and immediately decide what it must mean. They may think that Maya is being ignored, that Joachim has not really moved on, or that I am somehow trying to stay inside their relationship. But that is not how it feels for us. Maya and Joachim have the close relationship in private. They share the everyday life, the emotional intimacy, and the quiet things that make their relationship theirs. What Joachim and I sometimes share is different. It is physical, familiar, and connected to the history between us, but it is not an attempt to take the place Maya has in his life. Maya is not standing outside their relationship while Joachim and I secretly continue the old one. She is part of the honesty that makes the whole thing possible. And honestly, that matters more than whether other people understand it. I do not think everyone should live this way. For some people, intimacy and commitment need to be completely exclusive, and that is just as real and just as valid. I am not interested in telling anyone that they should become more open or that traditional relationships are somehow less free. What I believe is that different people need different things, and we create a lot of unnecessary pain when we pretend otherwise. Some people need a very clear and exclusive relationship to feel safe. Some people can separate physical intimacy from romantic love. Some people need emotional closeness before they can feel sexual desire, while others can have a deep physical connection with someone they would never be able to share an everyday life with. None of these people are automatically more evolved, more honest, or more loving than the others. The important thing is whether the people involved are telling the truth. There is a very big difference between freedom and secrecy. There is also a big difference between being yourself and simply doing whatever you want without caring about the consequences for other people. Being yourself does not remove your responsibility to be kind. It should actually make you more responsible, because once you understand what you need, you also have to be honest about it. You cannot expect other people to accept a version of the relationship they never agreed to. What works between Maya, Joachim, and me only works because nobody has to guess what is happening. Maya knows what Joachim and I share. Joachim understands that the relationship he has with Maya is different from the relationship he once had with me. And I know that I am not trying to become his girlfriend again. We also know that everything can change. Maybe one day one of us will no longer feel comfortable with it. Maybe the intimacy between Joachim and me will disappear naturally. Maybe new boundaries will be needed. Being honest does not mean creating one arrangement and then forcing everyone to live inside it forever. It means continuing to listen when people change. I think that is something we often forget. We create labels and promises because they make us feel safe. But sometimes we become so focused on protecting the label that we stop paying attention to the people inside it. A relationship can look completely normal from the outside and still be filled with loneliness, secrecy, and resentment. Another relationship can look unusual and still be built on honesty, respect, and genuine care. The shape does not tell you whether something is healthy. The way people treat each other does. So, no, I do not think every person can be pushed into the same square box. I do not think every love has to look the same, and I do not think one person always needs to fulfill every part of another person's life. Sometimes someone is the person you build a home with. Someone else may understand your creative side. Another person may know a part of your body or your history in a way that nobody else does. That does not mean we should collect people to fill every little need without considering their feelings. It simply means that human connection is more complicated than the categories we have been given. You are allowed to be different. You are allowed to need something that other people do not understand. You are allowed to discover that a relationship was real and meaningful, even if it needs to change its shape. But you also have to be good to the people around you. You have to listen to their boundaries. Tell the truth before the truth becomes a secret. and accept that your freedom cannot be built on somebody else's pain. For me, that is the balance. Be yourself, but do not use authenticity as an excuse for selfishness. Follow what feels true, but make sure the people walking beside you are choosing the same road. Let relationships become what they actually are instead of forcing them to look like something other people will approve of. Joachim and I were once a couple, and I will never pretend that those years did not matter. Maya and Joachim now have a relationship that gives them something beautiful and important. And the three of us have found a way of remaining close without pretending that every connection between us has to be the same. It is not a perfect system because people are not systems, and maybe that is the point. We are different. We need different things. We love in different ways, and sometimes life becomes much better when we stop being ashamed of that. Be who you are, be honest about what you need, and be good to the people who trust you. Life may not become simple, but it can become much more real. Thank you for listening. This was Anything Goes by me, Astrid Skye. And until next time, stop trying to make every person fit into the same box. Let people be different, let love take the shape it needs, and always remember that honesty and kindness have to come with you.